what is quickly becoming one of the most divided debates in our energy sector. Now, at the center of the storm are reports that government may reduce its stakes in key joint ventures currently managed by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, that is NNPCL. Unions are pushing back hard. Now, just yesterday, the leadership of Pengassan and Nupeng held a joint press briefing in Abuja where they rejected the alleged plan outright. They described it as short-sighted and dangerous, warning that it could mortgage the future of younger generations, weaken NNPCL's capacity to pay salaries, pensions, and contribute to the national budget. Now, the unions also allege there is a plot to amend the Petroleum Industry Act in a way that could take over NNPC's functions and send negative signals to investors. They point to past divestment by companies like Eni, ExxonMobil and Shell, stressing that further sell-offs of government stakes would erode Nigerians' control of its most lucrative sector. Their message to government is clear: cease and desist. But other voices see things differently. Some industry experts argue that while the risks are real, equity sales could ease NNPCL's financial burdens, attract investment, and provide government with much-needed fiscal relief if the proceeds are managed transparently for debt reduction and infrastructure. Now, critics, however, warn of policy instability and the danger of privileging short-term cash over long-term sovereignty. So where does this leave Nigeria? Is privatization a lifeline or a liability? Joining us this morning via Zoom from Saudi Arabia to help unpack the issue is Mr. Yabagi Yusuf Sani, energy and crude oil expert. Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Good morning for having me. Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right, good morning. So let's dive right in this morning. We're talking, or rather we're looking at, the privatization of the oil sector. Now, many argue that, Nigerian state-owned oil assets, especially the refineries, are underperforming. Now, from a technical and economic standpoint, what explains this chronic inefficiency?
Well, straight ahead, everybody knows that corruption has gripped Nigeria from bottom to top. I mean, and any situation where you have corruption at the level we have it in Nigeria, nothing works. It's not even the privatization we're talking about. Look at what happened in the electricity sector. We privatized, but what is happening? Look at what happened in telecom. The only successful one was the telecom sector, and telecom was because the assets were not owned by government. So government officials had little or no, influence on how these companies, are performing. The only one, if you remember, is that of Nitel, and look at what happened. That also failed because it was owned by government. So the point I'm making is that in the oil and gas sector, yes, you can privatize, of course. You need foreign investments before you can achieve optimum performance in that very important sector of the economy. But remember, when Bola Tinubu appointed Ojulari as the GEC, that is the head of NNPC, I cried out. I said there will be conflict of interest because Mr. Ojulari is a vice president in the Renaissance Group that acquired all the entire shareholding of Shell when they were moving out of the country. So this was in 22, 23, I think it was. They acquired these shares. So how can you now bring somebody that has such a strategic interest in the upstream sector of the economy to come and man the Nigerian state company that also has the same interest? Which one is he going to protect? Is it his own personal interest of their company, or is it the national interest? It is now playing out that the same people are now proposing that Nigeria should further divest, and who is going to acquire the shares? Themselves. So this is where the problem lies. other countries like Saudi Arabia, where I am now, they are divesting, they are selling shares to private organizations, but not in the upstream sector. What they are doing is that, for instance, about, I think 2 years ago or so, about 12.5 billion US dollars was attracted by Saudi Arabia into the pipeline sector. That is the distribution of the oil within the facilities. You know, Aramco, which is the biggest oil company in the world, you know, has another arm. Like we in Nigeria, NNPC has what used to be pipelines, you know, which was later named ZT NNPC or NRC or something like that. You know, so what we should have done was to attract foreign interest in at least making these pipelines to work. Fertilizer is one area that I know that Saudi Arabia and even Qatar, you have UAE, you have Oman, all those companies, all those countries that are producing oil, they don't, they are very, very strategic in their divestment. They don't give their own sovereignty, because when you now begin to sell your own equity share in the most important sector of your economy, which is the oil and gas sector, you are indirectly selling your own birthright. And somebody dictates to your company, your country, how you govern your country, which is very bad. So yes, you need the money, but there are other areas where you can attract this money if the investors are really sincere and they are not coming, to take over the country itself, and then maybe the future, generations will have little or no say in how their country is run, because oil for a long time, will remain very, very fundamental to the socio-economic, political life of the country. So this is where I believe Mr. President should step up to the plate and remember that he has been entrusted with the wealth that is our foreign, our sovereignty. While giving him, the votes, he has been elected, and he's now to preside over not only Nigeria of today, but what happens after he has gone. So it is not a case of you now, the president, selling the shares of the equity of the country in the choicest sector of the economy, which in fact determines how this country survives. And oil, like we know, all over the world, still plays very, very key role in the geopolitical and then trade, in the world. So this is why I side with the union, although the unions also have their own interest. Well, there's something wrong in having interest. But in this particular case, I think they're right to say that we should not sell our birthright just because you have a temporary problem, which you can address by checking corruption in that sector, because that's what is militating against Nigeria, reaching its potential as far as the economy is concerned. The debt we are talking about, believe you me, if we correct all the ills in that sector of the economy, meaning that, for instance, we said we had divest the interest of the government, from the oil and gas sector by making NNPCL. Then NNPCL is still owned by the company, because it is still the Ministry of Petroleum Resources Incorporated and the Ministry of Finance Incorporated that are still dictating whatever happens in that sector, which are purely government. Who are the heads of these ministries and privatizers? So the point is, take NNPC to the stock market. Let these people that wants to buy the equity of the NNPC, let them come and invest in NNPC in the stock market, so that they can now also do what other countries are doing by investing and by having, bringing their management to ensure that we operate this very important sector of the economy in a manner that it will serve not only Nigeria of today, but of the future. But the way we are going is the wrong one. We know we have debts. These debts, like I said, can be traced to the corruption, which is endemic, and it's known to Mr. President himself. He knows what to do. He's an expert in that area. He was in charge of the finance sector of a very big company, international company, before he became involved deeply in the politics. So he knows what to do, and he knows the solution. It is not to sell the future of this country to those who are questionable characters. I hear people like Gilbert Chagori. I hear that some will be given to the same Ojulari, who is now the NNPC GMD, because they own Renaissance, and I understand Renaissance is taking some percentage of this divestment that we are talking about. I also hear Ohando. Ohando, we all know, is owned by Tinubu's cousin. So how do you now justify this kind of divestments without somebody now saying that you are just trying to take advantage of a position today as the head of the government?
All right, so in your own opinion as an energy and, crude oil expert, we would love to hear from you. What do you think? Do you think, the privatization of, this sector will help, is the right way to go in reviving the sector? Or do you also think that, if government comes up with very good reforms and policies, it could help, achieve the same results?
No, privatization is always a good thing if it's done in the proper way, but not as, like I'll repeat myself. Saudi Arabia, for instance, today they are very big in the market. They are attracting billions of dollars into their country, and it's working very well for them. But they are not, believe you me. In fact, the last time I heard what Prince Mohammed was saying, which is de facto ruler of Saudi Arabia, said they are selling only 1% to a group, 1% of the crude oil asset, 1% alone, just 1%. To a company from America, led by American people, for about how much, 20 billion or something like I hear they say. So they are very strategic in their divestment. And it's not only Saudi Arabia. Go to Qatar, go to Oman, go to even the Norway, which is in the same category with Nigeria in terms of what we earn from oil. They are not in any way selling their empire, because like selling your empire. This is because Nigeria. Oil today rules the global economy. If you give up your shares to a private company, you have lost it. And look at our constitution. It says that for all the time, we have been the lion's share. 60% of the equity, has been owned by the government in trust, for the people of this country. So the debts they are talking about is something we can solve, believe you me. Remove corruption. That's all you needed to do. Then everything will flow in the line to build this economy, to give us the revenue we need, but not denying the country the revenue. If you sell the equity to a private organization, then you have a short-term solution. And Nigeria has a long-term objective. It's not only for today. So, and even how are you sure that when this money comes to the country, they will not steal it the way they've been stealing the revenue from the oil and gas sector as it is? Naiti has been telling us the billions of dollars we are losing. What has government done to correct those ills that Naiti has been pointing out? We try to privatize NNPCL. Why hasn't we gone to the market so that people can now buy shares and you have correct management? You have people that will manage these resources in the interest of their own investments and the country. I will repeat again, you have a wrong person at the head of NNPC today as Ojulari, because he has strategic interest in that sector of the economy. Go and check. They paid about $2.4 billion in that's about 2-3 years ago, when they bought the shares that Shell, when Shell left Nigeria, and some other ones, Ohando has acquired some, Seplat has acquired some, and these are the same group of people that want to buy up this country to do what? I don't understand. So this is why Nigerians must resist this and get government to do the right thing. They know the right thing to do. So this is the point I'm making. Nobody is saying that invest in privatization is not good, but you privatize in a very logical way that you protect your control, of the very, very important segment of the economy. That's what everybody is saying, and that's what all countries are doing. The European countries like UK, that divest their interest in BP. UK does not depend on oil, as we do in this country. If you look at Italy, if you look at Canada, these countries, Canada, as a matter of fact, also did not think too much with their hold on in the oil and gas sector, because they are about number 3, I think. So we need to really do the right thing, not for now, but also for the future of this country. Nigeria does not just exist for 8 years. It can't start and stop with Bola Ahmed Tinubu, no, the president. It must go on, and it must be done in a way that our children's children, Bola Ahmed Tinubu children, the president, will also come to enjoy this country. It cannot happen under a private, enterprise that has taken the empire, from the country, and will do whatever they like with it, because at that point in time, you have little or no say in how your country is run. Dangote is investing. Nobody says no. He's not buying up your shares or buying the equity of Nigeria from this thing. He came and he invested. These are the kind of investors you need in our economy, not shady, deals, investors that we have. And I will repeat again. Ojulari is not the right person to head NNPC, because he's a strategic, investor in that sector. And this is what is playing out today. They got away with the share. Nobody says anything. Journalists group, if you check there, you'll find out. And that's why they're even trying to tinker with PIA. PIA, of course, I don't even believe in that PIA. But that aspect, what we're trying to do is to now make sure that the Ministry of Finance, is totally in charge of the oil and gas sector. There are, you see, even the PIA, if you look at it, at the time PIA was passed, there were clauses that if we had people that really had interest of this country at heart, would have resisted them. Like other agencies of government that were checking oil and gas sector were ousted. They said they should not come into that sector anymore. I know of Federal Ministry of Trade and Investment, and I know of other sectors like that. So now, having enjoyed, the kind of maximum control they have in the oil and gas sector, they don't want to take everything. So these are the areas that I want, the government to please, in their own interest, look at Nigeria from the perspective of a statesman, not a private, investor that we are trying to turn this country to. Because countries, like I say, go to Norway, go to Canada, I'm talking about, these are the developed economies, but they didn't sell their assets, they divest in that manner. No, they hold still the lion's share. Today, we are trying to reduce the hold of the country on its tightest, the assets, which is not the right thing to do. So that's all I'm saying. Privatization, yes. Look at distribution of oil. Look at other sectors of the economy, not the upstream. The upstream is your empire. That is what the country depends on. That's why we are respected, because if you are not a big player in the economic arena, nobody cares about you. So, and we need to be respected as a country, so that a lot of things can come to us in terms of bilateral trade. If they know that you have strength in one product that is as important as oil, you get so many other pitfalls, benefits that you get. So don't deny us that as a country, please. So privatization, yes, but not in the manner we are trying to do it.
All right, we've heard and seen, unions like NOPENG and Pegasin strongly kicking against the privatization of the national oil asset. What do you think are their main concerns and their fears? And do you think that these concerns are valid?
Well, you see the unions, of course, they have their in the protecting the interest of the country. They're also protecting their own interest, because they have members that may suffer job losses if by mistake we transfer these assets to private organizations that will have no interest beyond profit. So this is why the union people are kicking against it. To a very large extent, they are right, because, like I said, I'll repeat it, there will be job losses in the sector, and that is not in their interest. Just like Nigeria will lose its control over, the asset, and by so doing will lose revenue. So can you see the contradiction in the whole thing? You say you are selling so that you can be able to pay your debts. But now, how do you now relinquish areas that you can earn revenue if you correct the ills in that sector and make maximum revenue from it? Nigeria has the capacity, believe me, to even give money to other countries if we run that sector in the manner it's supposed to be run. So, but there's corruption documented, known to even Mr. President himself. All you needed to do is to take action, take proper decisions that will stamp out this corruption or reduce it to barest minimum. Still our crude oil is being stolen, and so many other things infractions are happening there. So take care of those things, reduce them or stop them. Then we will have the money you are looking for. You don't want to go and take toxic money that after a while it may even kill you, because it will kill the country if the country lose control over this very, very important asset. This is why we are talking. There's no other sector of the economy like the oil and gas sector. All other sectors have a very, very strong backward and forward linkages with the oil and gas sector. They all survive, by virtue of the oil and gas sector. I know that itself is not contributing so much to the GDP, but by fact of the backward and forward linkages with other sectors of the economy who are performing, then the economy is growing. So don't lose that control. That's all we are saying. And the union, what they are saying is that it is a bad decision, and look at it critically. Look at it from the point of view of somebody who is very patriotic. You will agree that yes, I mean, these deaths, they won't kill this country if we do things the right way. You are losing like $4 billion or more than that dollars per annum in the way you run your oil and gas sector today, documented. For you refuse to take action, and you are now saying no, let's sell it to somebody. Are you giving a dog a bad name to hang it so that for your own interest? Is that what we are trying to do? We can't do that to this country. So unions are right. I am behind them to a very large extent, in the sense that this is not what other countries are doing. Check, you will find out. Like I say, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar. I'm talking about member countries of OPEC. Even Angola and other things. I have not heard that they have sold their asset, in the upstream sector of the economy. Yes, they sell down, like the midstream or downstream. They invite people to come and invest in their sector, but they remain in control by way of holding that lion's share in the upstream sector of the economy. So that's the point we are making.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Yabagi Yusuf Sani, energy and crude oil expert. Thank you for joining us this morning from Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much for having me.